What's up, YouTube family? Welcome back to the channel. If you're tuning in from Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, Canberra, or anywhere in the world where South African politics has become your daily source of frustration, confusion, or even dark comedy, this one is for you. Because today, we're diving into a statement so bold, so scathing, and so unapologetically raw that it has lit social media and political circles on fire. An analyst has declared that President Cyril Ramaphosa will go down in history as one of the most useless presidents South Africa has ever had. And folks, that's not a light accusation, it's a cannonball aimed at the very legacy of a man who once walked into the union buildings with the hope of being a reformer, a unifier, and a beacon after the Zuma years. But instead, here we are, years later, watching that dream spiral into what many are now calling a tragic letdown of epic proportions. Let's unpack this. First, the analyst's words didn't fall from the sky. This brutal assessment comes amid rising tensions in the country, load shedding still haunting the nation like a bad ex, unemployment so high it's crushing the hopes of the youth, corruption running wild like an untamed beast, and law enforcement agencies appearing toothless in the face of high-profile scandals. The average South African is tired, fed up, worn out by promises that never translate into action. And in that vacuum of disappointment, this analyst statement has found fertile ground. Think about this: when Ramaphosa succeeded Jacob Zuma, many hoped that the ANC had learned its lesson. The man was hailed as the Buffalo billionaire, a successful businessman who promised to cleanse the rot. He spoke about a new dawn. He promised to end state capture, to restore institutional trust, to reignite investor confidence. He looked good on paper. He sounded presidential. But somewhere between his eloquent speeches and endless commissions of inquiry, something broke. Or maybe it was never working to begin with. The analyst, whose voice has now echoed far beyond TV studios and radio airwaves, pointed out how Ramaphosa's administration has become synonymous with inaction. From the Phala Phala scandal to the handling of Eskom, from the ANC infighting to his perceived fear of upsetting political allies, this president, they argue, has perfected the art of doing nothing while sounding like he's doing everything. And that is the most dangerous kind of leadership, charming paralysis. Remember Phala Phala? That bizarre saga involving stolen foreign currency stuffed into a sofa at Ramaphosa's game farm. To this day, the cloud over that story refuses to lift. And while the president has maintained that he did nothing wrong, the entire situation left a bitter taste. It made people question his integrity and commitment to transparency. It raised red flags about whether the very man who said he'd tackle corruption is perhaps entangled in it himself. And then there's the matter of Eskom. Load shedding has become a cruel joke. Businesses are crumbling, students can't study, hospitals are left vulnerable, and the economy is bleeding. The ANC government, under Ramaphosa, has shuffled around CEOs, made announcements, set targets, and delivered plans, yet the lights keep going off. Analysts and everyday citizens alike are now asking, what is the president actually doing? Where is the urgency? Where is the leadership? Meanwhile, corruption cases drag on with no end in sight. Zondo Commission findings were released with much fanfare, but implementation, accountability, consequences, still missing in action. And while Ramaphosa publicly agrees that corruption is public enemy number one, his administration has not shown the bite to match its bark. Former ministers, state officials, and ANC cadres implicated in wrongdoing are still walking free, some even enjoying promotions within the party machinery. It gets worse. The ANC under Ramaphosa has become more divided than ever. Factionalism is no longer a problem, it's the lifeblood of the party. Instead of stamping his authority, Ramaphosa often appears to be playing referee in a match where the players have no respect for the rules. Analysts have described him as a man afraid of confrontation, afraid of alienating the RET faction, and afraid of breaking the ANC apart. But in avoiding confrontation, is he not letting the entire country rot? The people aren't just angry, they're disillusioned. Ramaphosa once stood before millions with that calm voice, that polished smile, promising to bring South Africa back from the brink. Today, that hope has turned into despair for many. Youth unemployment is over 60%. The economy is stagnant. Crime is rampant. Infrastructure is decaying. The rand has lost its power. And the only consistent thing is inconsistency. And so when the Analyst said what many have been whispering behind closed doors, that Ramaphosa might go down in history as one of the most useless presidents, he simply gave voice to a national exhaustion. It wasn't just an insult. It was a wake-up call. A declaration that the country cannot afford another passive leader who hides behind process, behind consultation, behind endless dialogue while Rome burns. Of course, some of Ramaphosa's defenders will argue that he inherited a broken system. That the Zuma years left the country hollowed out. That institutional rebuilding takes time. That the pandemic and global economic shocks played a role. All true to an extent. But leadership is about more than excuses. It's about decisive action. About courage. About vision. And above all, about accountability. Right now, South Africa is desperate for action. Desperate for honesty. Desperate for a leader who can fight for the country without fearing political repercussions. The people are not asking for perfection, they're asking for movement. They're asking for justice. They're asking for a reason to believe again. So where does Ramaphosa go from here? Can he salvage his legacy, or is the damage already done? Will he prove the critics wrong, or will history indeed remember him not as a reformer, but as the man who let the fire consume the nation while he waited for consensus? One thing's for sure, time is running out. And the people are no longer patient. They are watching. They are waiting. And if this moment passes without real change, then yes, that Analyst's prophecy may very well come true. Thanks for tuning in, YouTube family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree that Ramaphosa is failing the country, or is he being unfairly judged? Let's talk about it. Until next time, stay sharp, stay informed, and stay woke. Peace out.